Everyone, welcome back to the Dailey Blend show. My name is Reed Dailey. This is the Friday Top 5, August 4th, 2023 edition. And if you are new around here, the Friday Top 5 is where I feature 5 things that I thought were notable or interesting in culture. Before I jump into the show, I just want to remind you that it is available on daileyblend.com. We have these shows up on our YouTube channel as well as on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever else you get your podcasts. Also, we are on Meta Threads, sort of weird to say that, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We're pretty much everywhere on social. I think our favorite channel, or I should say my favorite channel, is definitely Instagram. And as soon as they can sort of integrate Instagram and Threads, I have a funny feeling Twitter is going to go a little bit by the wayside. But who knows? Maybe Elon and his team will come out with new features that make it way better to be on Twitter, or should I say X. All right, with all that out of the way, let's jump into this week's Friday Top 5. So I was trying to put together this show, and I was trying to think of things that are sort of relevant for me. And, I was really thinking about other projects a lot when I was prepping for the show, and I wanted to highlight what's going on with Drinks with Greg. So if you have been living under a rock, one of my good friends, Greg Larson, and I put together a podcast called Negronis with Greg, where we were walking through Matt Hranek's book, A Love Affair with a Classic Cocktail, the Negroni book. And we really enjoyed doing that. And through that process, Greg and I were just jamming and said, well, let's take it up a notch. And so we tried to buy Drinks with Greg to mirror Negronis with Greg, and that was going to be, I think, $6,000 for the .com, and we bought Drink with Greg for $2.99, and I actually like it. I didn't at first, but I like it better now because there could be derivatives of it like Cook with Greg, Travel with Greg, Shop with Greg, etc., etc. And so the impetus of the site is really about joining us on the adventure as we explore classic cocktails, different spirits that comprise those cocktails, wine from regions around the world, and probably a little bit of beer, although neither one of us are huge beer drinkers. And what we've been sort of going through that is there's no boundaries. It's just whatever our creative mind wants to do. And we're having a ton of fun sort of building that platform and getting content out. So I wanted to run through a few things with the Drink with Greg brand and hope to get you excited about it. So the first, I suppose, story or update from that project is that we have a web store now open. So we built the website on Shopify, and we did that intentionally. The Shopify ecosystem is fantastic. While we are largely a content company, the idea is to drive traffic to the web store. And it was been pretty cool to find a partner that can do spirits and alcohol fulfillment. So we've partnered with an organization. They've went out and purchased a number of physical liquor stores in certain states and then distribution centers. And so you actually are purchasing on our site. It's being fulfilled by that organization and shipped directly to your house. The collection that they've put together that we have access to is fantastic. We're going to start off small with 100 different SKUs and grow that over time. And if you go to drinkwithgreg.com, you will see the link for the shop page on the top in our navigation. And in most posts, we're actually putting sort of an image and a link to it. And we'll be highlighting spirits that you can purchase in our web store via our posts. So there's a nice sort of collaboration between digital content and our web store. So go check out the drinkwithgreg.com and have a look at all that is available on your web store. It ships to most states, not all, but most states. All right, moving from web stores, let's talk about some stuff for free. So Greg and I are obviously huge music friends and music buddies. We've gone all over the world listening to music and going to shows. One of the things that Greg got me into years ago when we were lonely interns was these down-tempo mixes. And what we've done here is we've put together Drink with Greg, a playlist volume 1, and largely Greg picked out most of the music for it. And it's just a fantastic, kind of playlist, for little down-tempo, nothing like put you to sleep. There's some just hits on there that I was even listening to as I was compiling it for Spotify. And I was like, man, these are just fantastic songs. Really nice job on the playlist. So we've got a number of playlists teed up, and my guess is we're going to probably do some merch for the playlist down the road. But for now, you can go to drinkwithgreg.com and just search playlists. You can obviously search for the playlist, drinkwithgreg.com, the playlist volume 1, and you can listen to that and stream that on Spotify. All right, going from the web store to music, going back to sort of the web store or kind of things that you can purchase, we've got our first round of merch ready to go. So we designed, I should say, the Negronis with Greg logo. And it was just one of those weird things that I was on a plane and I saw something that reminded me of Negroni, and I jumped into Keynote, not Photoshop, Keynote. And I designed our logo. I don't know, it probably took me like 20 or 30 minutes. And I was so excited. And I can't even remember if there was Wi-Fi on the plane, but I was trying to send it to Greg. Anyway, it came out great. And it's one of the best things that I've ever designed from scratch. And we actually went into a few different companies and explored kind of what their capabilities are for making patches and different merch. And we found a website that does a really nice job of actually doing some stitching. So we're going to do some dad hats. We've got them in black, white, and blue. I personally like the white one just because it's summertime here and I wear a lot of white hats, but I think the blue one looks the best. We'll probably do some dad hats, and then maybe down the road we'll do some 5-panel or 6-panel, I can't remember what do you call that, baseball hats. So a little more of that sort of dry fit material. We're trying to find a different company to do the stitching on the back. The provider that we've got only does them on the front, but we want to join us on the venture as our sort of tagline for the brand on the back. But be on the lookout for the hats. They'll be available obviously on drinkwithgreg.com, and we'll do a little more feature of them on the website when they are available. One would assume as soon as we get through doing some hats, we'll probably do some t-shirts, and I selfishly want to do some polo shirts. I've been a long fan of the cricket shirts, and I like how they do the logo in the patch, or not the patch, the what do you call that, the pocket area on the left, and I want to do something very similar. All right, so you gotta if you're gonna talk about Drink with Greg, you gotta bring it full circle to what started it all, and it was the book Negroni, A Love Affair with a Classic Cocktail by Matt Hranek. And what I did is I put a link to that in the show notes or the post at daileyblend.com, so you can actually read about that. And you can learn a little bit about Matt. He was a photographer for Condé Nast. He worked with his wife there, and Condé Nast did some restructuring, and they both started their own respective brands. Matt owns the W.M. Brown Project, and his wife, Yolanda Edwards, owns YOLO. Really creative name for both of them. Matt's is based off of the farm that they purchased, and Yolanda's is based off her last name. They travel around the world and showcase some pretty incredible places and people that they meet. Matt does a great job of doing storytelling in the W.M. Brown Project. I bought a few of his magazines, and the books are no different. They're not just here's the recipe. There's like a narrative and background on every drink. And right now, Greg and I are almost through the first 10 drinks. We've been taking our sweet time, and we've had one guest, and we're about to have our second guest, Tom Boudreau, on the show. Sponsor the pod, as we would always like to say. But I love that book. The book's only like $6 or $8 online if you can still find it. It's been pretty sold out, but it's a fantastic gift for people for the Christmas, holiday, birthday, whatever. Get a few copies, send them out. That's what I do. All right, wrapping up the story. I do not have anything to talk about Negronis and shoes, although I do actually own, now that I'm thinking about this out loud, I do own some Negroni slippers that are pretty fantastic, and I could have probably talked about those. But I want to talk about a new brand that I am excited to learn more about. It's called Amberjack. I was down at a friend's wedding a few months back and ended up jamming with a couple of the guests there and really getting to know them. That I walked into the wedding kind of the outsider, and I left very much feeling like I got a bunch of new friends. And my buddy Nick sent me some Amberjacks, and I'm really fired up about these shoes. I got the loafer in the Tundra color, so that's their version of a loafer. It's got a little more of an athletic build to the bottom, and it's a nice tan suede, so pretty excited to start wearing those around town. I haven't yet broken them out, but I plan to in celebration of this post. And if you're listening to this, Amberjack team, give me a buzz. Want to get you on the Dailey Blend podcast Sound Off edition and talk about brand origin. Go check out their website. You can Google it at Amberjack, and they are, I think their tagline is the most athletic or comfortable shoes on the internet. They are pretty darn comfortable, I have to say. All right, that wraps it up of this week's episode of the Friday Top 5. Want to thank you for tuning in to the show. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe to the show on all major podcasts, like following us on social media, and head to daileyblend.com to read and listen to this episode. Enjoy your week. We are late posting this, but the world moves on, and I will talk to you guys on the weekly rundown. Thanks for tuning in.